Hey, Maven Nation, welcome to another episode of Success with Saneness, your bi-weekly dose for solution-inspired stories that help you, maintain your well-being. We are out here in these entrepreneurial streets, corporate spaces, doing a lot. I just want us to do it with some well-being. So my amazing guest today is Dr. Richmond. I'm happy to say that I know her personally, and her tagline she uses sums her up so well: your total health doctor. And listen, once we get into this conversation, you're going to see why her approach is about your total well-being, your total health, which I find to be so absolutely amazing that medically trained MD can also take the holistic approach and help predominantly minority communities really work at sustaining and having good health. You don't find that combination all the time. So Dr. Richmond, we truly thank you. Dr. Richmond is an MD with her own practice. She has a medical spa. She has a whole husband and 2 children. I'm like, listen, she is doing all the things. So Dr. Richmond, thank you for joining us. Tell Maven Nation a little bit more about you, about your practice, and all the things that are true to your heart.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. Good morning, Maven Nation. I am Dr. Miara Richmond, also known as your Total Health Doctor. I am the CEO and founder of Your Total Health Clinic and Day Spa right here in Houston, Texas.
Hey.
And I also do... Yes, yay!
H-Town.
H-Town. We are in H-Town. Now, I will say this. I am originally born and raised Chicago, but H-Town is home for me, and both of my kids, Jackson and Jazz, were born right here in Texas.
Okay.
Right here in Texas.
Excellent. Listen, I love, and Dr. Richmond spoke at one of my events. Listen, pre-pandemic, that's all I'm going to say, because the pandemic years, and I lose track of how many years ago was that? And one of the things that I really enjoyed about being a patient of yours at that time, and listen, y'all, Dr. Richmond is not the doctor that I referred to in some previous videos about the doctor that made me so mad. She is not that person, okay? Let's be clear. I had to switch doctors due to insurance. So that was not Dr. Richmond. Dr. Richmond, I shared with the people that the doctor I wound up going to after you, she was not it. And I was very dissatisfied. But one of the things that I like about you so much as a doctor is when I came into your practice, it was, well, let's have a conversation first.
Okay.
Let's talk about what's going on in your life and your lifestyle, because our lifestyles contribute to if we're doing the right things medically or not, or holistically. It really is rooted in how our lifestyle is. So what taught you, or what made you feel that was so important, especially because you a lot of your clients are minority clients, right? Minority community, and just getting us to feel comfortable, really, with the white coat syndrome. Mm-hmm. To feel comfortable to start with the conversation, then I think we might be more apt to say, well, I've been feeling this and this hasn't been right, and I have a history of this in my family. Mm-hmm. What made you feel like that was so important in those cases?
So what made me feel like the whole person, the whole picture, the mind, body, and spirit are all important in healthcare is actually being in a healthcare system where we're not trained to necessarily look at the total person, right? That we're more focused on possibly prevention of disease, meaning making sure that we stop anything or prevent anything from happening before it happens. Mm-hmm. But a lot of what I saw in training, and I went to medical school at the University of Illinois, and then I also got my master's of public health, which helped as well. And I can explain a little bit more about that at the University of Illinois. And then I came to Baylor to do my residency in family and community medicine. And so in my training, I could see a lot of how the psychosocial, meaning the mental health, financials, the environment, family, how all of those pieces came together, or maybe not, when it comes to a person's health and wellness. And so I put that all together, and then also looking at my own family members.
Okay.
I look at my patients as family, and so I would treat them as such, because I want to make sure that we're touching all different spaces to come together to make a holistic picture and plan for everyone's health that sees us. And so it just goes back to seeing my own family,
Okay.
how I was trained, and then the loopholes that I saw, and then also having a background in public health, which it's more of a looking at health from a more global perspective. So
Okay.
looking at the community, looking at availability of healthy foods, looking at spaces where there's opportunities to exercise or not, as a part of the whole picture for our patients and our community.
I love that because, obviously, in the more recent years, there's been data on food deserts and all, just access to healthier lifestyles, from food to, you mentioned, places to work out, all of those things. The minority community has been, low on the list of all of those things. And, taking that approach to treat your patients as family members, that, again, I'm sure there's a lot of folks that could raise their hand and say, yeah, that's not how I was treated over at the other place, right? And it makes, I know for me, it made me feel like I have a partner in what I'm trying to do.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to have take the preventive approach. And if there is something out of whack, how do we get that back in line? And it's not just you are the doctor and I'm the patient, but we're in this together, which I love. Talk a little bit more about your master's and how that all plays into, you touched on it a little bit, but really when I look at all the things you do from your work with the AIDS Foundation, et cetera, it all kind of boils down to that community approach. So is that one of the reasons you wound up getting your master's in that?
Absolutely. So, as we talk about being a whole wife and mother,
Yes.
part of the reason why I went and did my master's in public health is because when I was in between medical school and residency, I got married.
Okay.
And so I was like, you know what? I need a little bit of time off. I want to do something different that's still in the medical field, but also can kind of give me a more kind of open view about health and wellness. And so what we learn in medicine is really the individual approach. So that's me in the room with you one-on-one. With the Masters of Public Health, that actually looks at health on a more community-based aspect. So what all plays into the health of everyone that say, so my practice is in the 77021 area. So I know where the closest pharmacies are. I know where the closest grocery stores are. And so that brings into play with, for example, if I have a patient who has diabetes. Okay. And I say, hey, what's going on? Have you been taking your medicine? And diabetes is when you're not able to your body's not able to digest sugar well, and then sugars get high, and so sometimes you have to take medicine. Hey, like, what's going on? Well, maybe they don't have access to the best foods, right? Okay. Or they may say, oh, well, it's a lot of fast food. Okay, well, I just stop at the fast food. Okay, well, let's look at what other options you may have when you go to the fast food restaurant, because there are all the things that you probably shouldn't be eating, but they have at least one option. At least one, right? So it's the big picture. It's the what we like to call all the way from we call the microcosm all the way up to the macro. So what is in the system that we can fix? What is in the system that we can do? And so that is really important to me. And I'm very much involved and very much present on social media. And that is another health outreach where I know that I can reach mass, I can educate,
Yes.
and answer questions and improve health outcomes just by the post that I might share with some health information. So
Yeah.
that's public health. That is reaching
Got
out to
it.
the masses. And so I was the chief medical officer, the first chief medical officer at AIDS Foundation Houston, and I'm no longer there, but I am now the Texas Southern University physician. And
I
so
love
this,
it.
oh, thank you. So it all comes together in the sense of if we're looking at chronic disease, which
Okay.
HIV falls under that, diabetes, obesity, sexual wellness, all of that falls under not only that one-on-one, but also community health.
Okay. Listen, I love, love, love that. And really, so y'all follow the Total Health Doctor on Instagram because that's another platform to share educational material. In the example there, you were talking about the fast food, oftentimes helping educate people like, okay, if the fast food route, if that's part of your lifestyle right now, when you go, here's some things I want you to look for. Don't get the double cheeseburger. Don't get that.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
look at this and maybe something grilled with a salad instead of the fries, right? So giving people that information, and information, I think in the age of information, I think we take for granted sometimes that everyone digests information. We all have a lot of access to information, but you taking it and making it very simple for your patient to say, because you had the conversation of, what are you eating? Your insulin's high. What are you eating? Oh, well, I just run through the drive-through at the place. And you're saying, okay, here's what I want you to look for versus saying, don't eat fast food.
Correct.
Because
Yeah,
that's probably
because
not going to be the step one.
that's not going to be the step one, right? And so we're going to have step one. We're going to kind of really talk about what that looks like, even if it's saying, hey, whatever you get half of, like eat
Okay.
only half of it, or share with someone else. So it's those conversations with providing information. I learned how to use that in what we call the stages of change. How to get somebody to go from no action to contemplating it to action. And so one of those steps is information.
Okay.
Giving information, solid evidence-based medical information, and not in a medical jargon type of way.
Right.
Literally, when my patients come in, when the clients come into the spa, we also do clinical research. So when anyone comes here, you're going to get my smile. Our staff is welcoming, because let's be clear. We talk about minorities and we talk about health, again, for Black people and specifically for Black women. A lot of times we go unheard.
Okay.
We see that no matter what your socioeconomic status is, it doesn't matter how much money you make, it don't matter how many degrees you have, you will potentially, there is a potential, because we're still working on really, really listening to Black people and listening to our patients, right? And so I've seen it before, and I'm not gonna pretend that we're perfect, because we're not.
I get it.
However, our intention is to make sure that you get what you need, so that when you come in, whatever way you felt, whatever you were dealing with, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, and even spiritual, right? That when you leave, you feel better than when you came in here. Even if you don't do all the things, but for whatever reason that you're coming into your total health clinic and day spa, you're gonna feel different when you leave, and in a great way, not a good way, a great way.
A great way. Listen, I love that, and that's so important to the Black community, because when you look back on previous generations, right? They didn't listen. Our previous generations gave us the best they knew and the best they had.
Yes.
We now have access again to more information where we can start making those improvements. But if you try to take a person that has been, let's say, eating fast food, maybe 3 meals a day, and tell them, don't do that anymore, they're going to leave your office. They're just not going to come back for their follow-up appointment, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing. So I love that approach of taking people in steps where they can think about the change. Let's remember all the benefits you've shared with them on why this change is important, and then begin to say, well, I could order the side salad instead of the fries this time, even if they don't do it every time.
Every time.
This time.
And then the great part about it is that the way I envisioned this center is that we would have building blocks, right? So now we have a nutritionist who accepts insurance that we can refer. She comes on site and she does televisits and telephone visits to provide that access and to add that additional layer of support. We have a mental health component where we have a mental health specialist who is on site. And so, I tell everybody when you come here, we're gonna get to the root. We are gonna get to the kitty gritty, right? We're gonna talk about all the things. So we go ahead and screen for mental health. The truth of the matter is, for primary care, we are the front lines of pretty much everything. And so I did my training so that I will be able to at least start the process, start the treatment, refer you to, if it's mental health, get you into therapy, have someone on site who can help me as we work through the holistic approach. So I don't want to toot my own horn, but toot it, sis. Toot. I love what we do. So it's exciting to me. People say, "How do you do it?"
Right.
I just love it. I just love it. And I meant to say on the married note, and with public health, my public health degree in graduate school, I took off a year because we got married and we lived in Chicago together. We didn't live together before we got married. So we had an opportunity to have our first year of marriage living together, because all the time we dated, I was here, in school, everywhere, just... so I was like, at least I could give the man a year. At least.
1 year. Sir, I'm going to give you a year. I love it. I love it. Listen, I love your title, your motto, the total health doctor. You have now physically brought that to life with, a primary care doctor, the nutritionist, a mental health expert, and a spa. Listen. All of the things. And again, I don't know of anyone else as a doctor that has taken that approach, and so important to the Black community, again, because I think that teaches us that all of these things are interconnected. If your mental health is off, it's going to affect your physical health, your spiritual health, all of those components. And you talked about Black people, especially Black women, not being heard. And we read the story a couple years ago, Serena Williams, of all people, right?
Exactly.
Having a tough experience when she had her. And here's one of the things that has been important to me in creating who I'm selecting for these interviews is I want Black women to be able to have more power in their voice, so that they don't go to the doctor and the doctor's dismissive or not listening or whatever needs to be happening. And they don't know that, wait a minute, sir, ma'am, I need you to have a seat and I need you to hear me, right? That we are using our power to speak up. The previous story that I touched on about the doctor when I went for a checkup last year, 2022, and I was intentional to find a Black female doctor, did all the work. And so obviously I had just eased from perimenopause all the way over into the real pause, right into the thing. And so for the first time, and again, this was me being an active person, working out 3 days a week, strength training, a couple days a week, cardio, doing all the things that 80%, 75 to 80% eating clean through the week. So to go into the doctor and get some blood test results, and they're like, well, your glucose is headed up and your cholesterol and the blood pressure. And it was like, well, don't eat fried food and work out. Whew, girl, listen.
She was like,
I was like, oh God, Jesus, the offense on my mouth. I was so shocked that I couldn't even give her a good Maven talk. Listen, I was ready to give the
You can
doctor
give
the
her a
Maven
good
talk.
Maven talk. Oh,
And when I got in my car, I immediately hit Lashana, my holistic
mostly.
wellness practitioner,
Yes.
and was
Yes.
like, what the hell? I just, like, my brain couldn't even process, first of all, that these are some of the results that I was getting. And again, I was doing the work, right? And for this doctor to have such a benign approach to talk to, girl, I was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So that sent me on a mission to be bringing on doctors like yourself to help empower Black women to know the things they need to be looking out for, having the information to be able to say, well, hold on, that's not what I said. Or
Yes.
let me give you a little bit more information about that. Or let me tell you that my mother had that same issue, right? And really being intense about, sometimes we have to just stand the ground and say, no, this is my health. And I know you got 30 other patients to see, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to get all my time for my visit,
Absolutely.
right? So what are some of the primary, or what are some of the top 3 health challenges that you see affect the Black community the most? And we'll talk about like the top 3, and then what are some things we as just a community as a whole can start doing, things we can start teaching our children, as far as preventive care way before they get to, full adult and all of these things. What are some of those top 3 medical issues that you see plague our community a lot?
I love that. So the top 3 medical diagnosis that I see that plague our community, they're in different, because I'm family medicine, so I see a lot. So
Okay.
they're in different realms. So one, of course, this is February, so heart disease.
Okay.
And there's so many things that fall under heart disease or that lead up to heart disease. So I'll say heart disease and high blood pressure.
Okay.
That's one. 2 would be diabetes.
Okay.
And then from because I'm very much into sexual wellness and intimacy wellness as well. And so HIV is definitely a concern in our community. And then
Okay.
can I add one more?
Yes, absolutely.
Mental health,
Okay.
depression, anxiety. So those are the main ones. And I know you said, I got one more, cancer.
No, listen,
Because,
give it to us.
yeah,
Okay.
and the reason why
Is there a specific type of cancer?
so in general, lung cancer in
Okay.
women, breast cancer, and
Okay.
in men, prostate cancer, and I'm
Okay.
sorry, not colon cancer. And
Okay.
a lot of those can either be prevented, or
Okay.
if found early with treatment, can be cured.
Okay.
So let's just talk about prevention.
Okay.
So the definition of prevention is catching, seeing something, or preventing or stopping something from happening before it happens. That's
Okay.
prevention. Early
Okay.
detection is, let's check these tests to see if there's something there, and if it is, we need to find out as early as possible, because with most disease processes, the earlier you find them, the earlier you get treatment. They can either be reversed,
Okay.
or can extend your life, and being able to enjoy your life, what we call morbidity and mortality.
Okay.
So it's really, really important. And I know a lot of people say, I don't have anything wrong with me, I don't need to see the doctor. And that is
Okay.
the perfect time to see the doctor, right? To
Okay.
just start getting ahead of everything, making sure that you have a clean bill of health, so that if anything does come up, the next time we'll be able to compare and contrast from before to now, and what we need to do. And again, early detection is key. So I always say for people to make sure that you know your numbers, know your weight, know your blood pressure,
Okay.
know your blood sugar, know your cholesterol, and then know your HIV status.
Okay.
Also very important, because either again we can prevent, or if caught early, we can treat, and you can live a long life, or we can, sometimes we can cure.
Okay.
So yeah, so that is what I would recommend, that if you have not been to the doctor, and let me talk to our entrepreneurs, and let's talk to Maven,
Yes.
the high
Yes.
functioning woman.
That's us. That's us.
That's us, who is taking care of the business, the family. Listen, and it doesn't even have to be that you have a husband and children. You might be taking care of aging parents, like, or
Yes.
it could there. You may be responsible for other people in your family.
Yeah.
So we're typically the main support person, and so we a lot of times fall on the back burner, and I
Okay.
see that a lot in practice. And so that's why I say it's so important not only to self-care is healthcare. So not
Okay.
only to make sure you get your labs and everything, but and see the doctor, but then also take out time for whatever it looks like for you. For me, it's prayer and journaling. Take time for prayer. Take time for journaling. Take time for
Yes.
meditation. Get your time in for exercise, but do something for you. And one of them is going to the doctor and making sure you
Yes.
have a clean bill of health. And then if not, getting whatever is going on, making sure that you get it addressed. And then two, taking time out for self-care and wellness. And again, that may just be reading a book. So one of the
Okay.
assignments that I give a lot of my patients, who I notice, we have a lot of entrepreneurs, we have a lot of professionals,
Right.
and minority women. And as we're talking, it's more and more of, I don't have time for that. I have to do this, and this. And so one of my assignments, or one of my prescriptions, is do one thing to set a boundary and do one thing for yourself. And that is
Okay.
one of your prescriptions. So when you come back, because I'm your accountability partner, when
Yes.
you come back, I want to hear about what you did. So maybe you always are the one who dropped off and pick up dad at the hospital every single time.
Right.
And he does have transportation, right? And
Right.
so maybe one time dad might have to do transportation. So
Right.
you can have some time for you. So you can come over here and
Right.
get this massage. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I love that approach. I love, because I love a good boundary. I love a good
Yeah.
boundary, and I'm always telling women that I coach or support, a boundary is for you.
Yes.
You have to set that for your self-care. And I just did a video a couple weeks ago on social that said, if you are the captain of the ship and the captain goes down, who's manning the ship? And we cannot fool ourselves any longer to think we can run on 10 all the time and everything is going to be okay. And back to your point about, if you're feeling great, you don't have any issues that you know of, still make sure you get that annual checkup, because that blood work is going to let you know your current numbers, cholesterol, blood pressure, all of these things. And recently for me, I went to the dentist and they check your blood pressure. And the people were like, are you on blood pressure medicine?
What you medicine? Yeah.
No. Do you have a history of high blood pressure? No. From that moment, I had to get back with my holistic practitioner. I started doing acupuncture, because we went through all of these things to figure out it was hormonal based, right? Because again, I was the person doing the work. I was doing the workouts and the cardio and eating clean and all of those things. And after I went to that dentist appointment, I started checking my blood pressure every day just so I could get a log. It was staying high. Again, I had no headaches. I had no dizziness. I had no nothing. I had no swelling. So Maven Nation, listen to me. When Dr. Richmond is saying, even if you feel great, feel good, still go for that annual, at a minimum, the annual checkup, because again, you might not be having some symptoms of something. And again, when the dentist was asking me this, I'm looking at the dentist like they're crazy.
Yeah.
I'm good. I do the stuff. And really, again, I believe all the things that have happened to me in the last 12 months have sent me on a mission to keep talking about, for one, perimenopause and menopause and the things that happen with that, and making sure, like you said, that you go and let's talk about this financial aspect of health for a moment, because I know in the Black community, that's a big thing. Everybody might not have insurance, and everybody just might not have the funds to do cash pay, to just pay out of pocket, right? If that is a person listening or watching this episode, what are some things they can do if they say, I don't have medical coverage, and I'm on a, maybe it's an elderly person, I'm on a fixed income. I can't walk into the doctor's office and pay $250 for a checkup, which doesn't even include the labs, right? What should that community of people be doing? What are some options and choices they have? Because we know that is a big population within our Black community.
So I love that, right? Because it goes back to community health. If you cannot financially afford to pay for a doctor's appointment, and then on top of that, if you go and then you have a diagnosis and they say, hey, you need this test, this test, this test, or you need medication, and you're like, okay, I barely was able to pay for the visit, right?
Right.
But we live in an amazing community in Houston, amazing medical and public health community. So I would recommend, one, in your local community, we have the Houston Chronicle, we have the Defender, we have Houston South Magazine, and they're always promoting free complimentary health fairs. And at those health fairs, you actually can get things checked, like your blood pressure. You can get your blood sugar checked. We can even check like your cholesterol right then and there on the spot.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and so engaging in those community health fairs is a great way to get access to healthcare, right? To at least get the screenings done. As a matter of fact, the community research branch from TSU is doing a breast cancer screening event today in Fifth Ward. So there's opportunities to kind of get some of the preventative access as well as some screening in the community. And then we have what's called federally qualified health centers in Houston, where Legacy, Avenue 360, these are all clinics that you can go based on your income and scale. And if you don't have an income, then typically you don't have to pay. And so they are federally funded. And a lot of the doctors are Baylor trained, UT trained. So you're getting the same level of medical care that you would get there if you were in a private sector. Now, the scheduling and everything, sometimes it may be a little bit further out, but it's still a resource available, as well as Harris Health and Harris County. So there's opportunities to get health care at a either very affordable rate or at no cost to you at all. So those are some of the resources that I would recommend. And then there's also the county also does free HIV testing, syphilis, gonorrhea, chlamydia. So there's opportunities to get testing for your sexual health as well.
And listen, those of you that are watching and listening, let's put the shame off the table. If you are in a situation you cannot afford it and you need to get to these free health screenings and all that, do what you need to do for your health. Listen, it's all still private, like HIPAA laws are across the board. So this is nothing to be ashamed of. Your health is more important than the shame that you might initially feel because you can't afford to pay for something or lab work and all that. Do what you need to do for your health so that you can get the preventive care or, even cures. The earlier we can catch things, it's just going to be better for us. Because just imagine if you're delaying getting some tests, whatever you need because you don't have the financial means and you keep putting that off. Imagine what your situation could be if you get a tough diagnosis and you don't have the money. So listen to me. I after leaving corporate, I have had the years. Gratefully, I could still pay the cash, but even paying the cash, I was like, oh God, like this is a lot. It's like, wow, right? So do not be, especially those of you that are in the entrepreneur space. Paying for insurance as an entrepreneur is very very expensive. So if you're in a situation and you cannot afford that right now, seek out. And this is no matter what state you live in. I'm in Houston, Dr. Richmond's in Houston, but whatever county you're in, the resources she threw out, every county is going to have some of those free resources. So I just want to plug that. Don't let shame keep you from seeking the medical treatment that you need so that you can prevent some things and also cure some things because you got an early diagnosis. That's so important. Dr. Richmond, I can't say enough that I so love your approach that is rooted in community. The zip code that you put out earlier for those that are not from Houston, it's in the are you in Third Ward?
Yes.
In Third Ward, which is a predominantly, yet holding on, Black community, right? And so you went into the center of the community that you know needed your care and needed your help. And again, provide this total approach. I didn't even know that you had the mental health professional there. You know, I knew about the spa, which I want to talk about a little bit more in detail. But again, guys, listen, Dr. Richmond is sharing this information with us here. If you forget something, get lost, and need a resource, reach out to her Instagram page,
Please.
Call her office.
Yes.
She is very responsive. She and her team will help you. And again, if that is just, you feel stuck or you feel like something is medically going wrong and you're afraid of what you might find out, call her office. Let she and her team help you take your next step. Whether that's a big step, small step, whatever it is, we want you to live, and we want you. I love using with vitality, not just dragging through life. That's been my screaming from the mountaintop with women that are going through menopause. Listen, yes, you're gonna have to make some adjustments. I had to change my whole workout, like from the big hit workouts that I love. To smaller, low impact workouts, 20 minutes, 20-minute walks. And I just kept saying, this ain't going to be enough. It's been enough. The weight has started coming down, the cholesterol, all the things have started coming down. So yes, you're going to have to do some intentional work. Dr. Richmond can't give you a prescription that avoids the work. The Maven quote says the work is not skippable.
The work
you
is
got
not
to do
skippable.
it. Yeah,
you got to do it. And I'm so glad you brought that up about entrepreneurs. So I'm in right now. I have my Texas license, my Illinois license, and I'm working to get my Louisiana and Georgia license.
Okay,
because I have found that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are in my communities that need access to care and don't necessarily have health insurance. So it's kind of a urgent care, emergency type of situation where if they get sick, then they'll go and see someone and pay that large amount. And so I've created a membership where you can have, it's a low rate, monthly rate, and have access to myself and have access to baseline labs and telemedicine. And so that's something that both an entrepreneur can take advantage of, and if you have staff and you're not able to offer full insurance benefits, a medical membership is the way to go. So I'm really excited about that because it gives entrepreneurs an opportunity to have low cost but high level access to a doctor and health services.
Listen, we're going to drop that link and all of the important links for Dr. Richmond in the comment section under this video because, listen, that's a game changer right there, especially for entrepreneurs because I've looked at the price of insurance and, again, grateful that I can pay it, although every month I'd be like, my God, listen, Jesus. But there's a lot of entrepreneurs that maybe they're just starting out and they're revenue and income, they just cannot afford that. So listen, Godspeed to you, honey, because you are doing the things and really paying attention to the things happening in the communities that you're in and communities you're connected to because you're an entrepreneur as well. And not just seeing the need, but you're offering solutions, which everybody cannot say. A lot of people see problems, but the next step of making there be a solution is just wonderful. So let's talk a little bit about the spa that you have and what services do you offer there. And again, ladies and gentlemen, this self-care, I know it's a buzzword, but this is a real thing. You have to be able to take care of you before you can take care of your kids or your spouse or aging parents. You got to make this time for yourself. So listen, I love a good spa. I'm a spa girl. So I was excited again when you opened this additional component of your business. So tell us a little bit about the spa services.
Absolutely. So in our spa, so we technically are a medical spa because we are a clinic and I'm the director of everything, but we are very much a day spa as well. So there's a difference. So with a day spa, it's more like relaxation, rejuvenation, that type of care. But medical spa I think it's a misnomer for us because we do offer like Botox and things like that, but when it all comes together, it's really more about having you feel more rejuvenated, having you feel renewed. And so we have massage services, we have facials, we have waxes, we have pedicures, waterless pedicures, an amazing pedicurist on site. And a lot of people don't know this, but be sure to check if you have insurance. Be sure to check your insurance because some of the services can be, not always, but can be covered by insurance.
Wow.
Yeah, so medical massage is huge. Like that is considered a health service, or it can be considered a health service. So we offer those on the clinic side, but in the spa, it's more relaxation, more aromatherapy. Did I leave off? And so I mentioned waxing. So we do Brazilian waxing, body waxing. So we also do a lot of health promotion and weight loss through the spa. So we do medical weight loss. We do supportive care, exercise, fitness classes in the spa as well. So it's a whole nother holistic approach to spa and well-being. And most people say, like 71% of people who say they engage in self-care feel happy afterwards.
Absolutely.
It gives them a sense of joy. And I will say that you spoke on, I've heard you say perimenopause and menopause. And listen, my ladies are going through it, right?
Listen.
So we're here. We're here. So if for those of you who may not know what perimenopause is and menopause is, that when you have your menstrual cycle, at some point the menstrual cycle is going to stop. But in between that time, when it's kind of still there but not really, and then the cycle hasn't totally stopped, that's perimenopause. When the cycle has stopped, that's menopause. But I would tell you that perimenopause stage is just a weird space, right?
It is.
So, you see issues with weight, hot flashes, sometimes even your taste is different. Like what you appreciated before just doesn't taste the same. Or the way you could, season your food before, you can't do it anymore. It's so many changes that go with going from the transition from having a menstrual cycle to not having a menstrual cycle.
Right.
Some people say menstrual cycle, usually we say period. So going from having a period to not having a period. And so it's just all the things, and the body just, it's an amazing thing. I think that God makes our bodies, women especially, humans in general, but women especially, He makes our bodies so wonderful, and that our bodies can adjust. But sometimes we really have to, like you said, go get those labs. If you feel something that's just different than what you felt before. I'll give you an example. I wasn't very sensitive to caffeine until I started to get into this kind of perimenopause stage. Now I drink caffeine, and my breasts, y'all, sorry, and I'm very straightforward.
Yes, she is.
My breast became very sensitive to caffeine. But you know
Okay.
what I did? I was scared. And so my grandmother was a breast cancer survivor. So I
Okay.
was scared, y'all. And so I can share these experiences with you. I was
Yes.
scared. I was like, oh, Lord, I just do not want to go and get this mammogram. I just don't. And I was like, you
Right.
know what? Let me go ahead, call my doctor. So I called my doctor. And she
Right.
said, okay, Dr. Richmond, now you know what you got to do.
Get it here.
I had to woman up,
Right.
make an appointment, show up, and get my mammogram done. But the doctor, he said, your mammogram is fine, your ultrasound is fine. And then he gave me a sheet and said, this is what you need to change. And at the top of it was caffeine intake. I was like, well,
A little
in my,
tweak. A little
a little,
tweak.
no more
Yes.
problems. I was like,
Right.
well, in my 30s, I didn't have.
Listen, the body changes. Sis does not give us any pre-announcements. She does not. If she could give us a sheet, that would be nice. Here's your
That
sheet.
would be
Here's what
nice.
you can't do anymore, right? But I keep saying that because I know how I felt in that moment of powerless. And again, I'm the woman I am a high achiever, high performing, going, helping other women stay on track. And in that moment, I thought, how can this all be so? Because I was already doing the work. Now, had I not been doing anything, the
Right.
workouts and all, then I'd be like, okay, it's time to get it together, Myra. So I keep telling that story because I want women to know, even if you are doing the things that you should be doing, when your body starts making these changes, simply some things are going to change. And that's not for you to beat yourself up or say, man, I
Right.
coulda, shoulda, woulda, all that. Take the steps and be proactive.
Yes.
Especially for us high performing women. Ladies, hear me. You've got to take care of yourself. It has to be a part of your daily process.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pinpoint another part of self-care, and I'm wondering, in that interaction with that doctor, did you all talk about, what's your day like?
No.
Okay.
That's why I was so aggravated, because when I had saw you, we did talk about all of that. So when I'm expecting that every doctor now is going to have these lifestyle conversations and really understand me as a person. And no, none of that happened, which is why I was on fire on the inside about the whole thing.
So I also tell the community about the conversation about this and why I went into private practice. So
Okay.
I went into private practice because when you're in a system, you have you have measurements you have to meet. You have
Right.
requirements. You have to have a turnaround time with the patients. Like, these are all the things that they're looking at. And so more recently, this is tied into your pay. And so
Yes.
for the doctors, I say, give them a little bit of grace. If they're not in private practice, give them a little bit of grace,
Right.
because they are working for someone else who is saying, you need to do this, and this, and you need to do it in this time and this time and this time. And so for me, I grew frustrated.
Yeah.
Because I felt we're doing the people a disservice
Right.
by going in, looking at labs, writing prescriptions, telling you don't do this and don't do that, and then you come back and we get the same result. Oh, maybe you don't come back, or
Right.
you come back and we get the same results. So I was like, if we do something and you get the same results, what is that? That's insanity. And I don't want to be an
Absolutely.
insane doctor. I'm starting to get apathetic. I'm like, you
Right.
know what? Just okay. Here's the
Right.
medicine. And
Yeah.
I said, this is not me. This is not why I went into medicine. So I have to step away so that I can. And at that time, I didn't know I was your total health doctor, but that was when your total health doctor was born, where
Gotcha.
I had the time to sit down and talk with you and really see, because that's a huge assumption. A huge assumption.
Yes.
Oh, it's just not eating fried food and exercise. And you
Right.
didn't even ask me before, like, what do I do? Like, that's a huge assumption.
And
I
even that on the 500 forms you have to fill out, it asks you about lifestyle choices. But again, she was moving, right? Again, she has her time frame that she's having to try to meet her metric, and maybe that didn't allow for her to read the chart. Now, for Myra, that just means you can't be my doctor.
Right.
That's my
So that's what I was gonna say. So that's where advocacy comes in
yes.
for yourself. So y'all, we are providing a service. You're a patient. We say patient, right? But at the end of the day, you are a customer.
Yes.
So just like when you go to the store and you decide, I want this wheat bread, I don't want this wheat bread, it's the same thing with the doctor. I don't want this doctor, I want this doctor. These are the things that I'm looking for in a doctor. Sis, you don't have it, sis, you have it. And I will say this for me, if a patient tells me, hey, I don't think this is a good match, I would think I want to go somewhere else, I will say, okay, what is it that you're looking for? I have a network of a, a gazillion doctors. What is it that you're looking for, so I can help you? I'm not easily offended because I believe in advocating for yourself.
Yeah.
If there's something that you don't like, I tell my patients, and you know this, I tell the clients, the patients, customers, tell me what's going on, or thank
Yeah.
you for letting me know, because that is not the way we want to move. So
Right.
let me know so we can fix it. And if
Absolutely.
it's not something that still doesn't work for you, I get it. I
Right.
totally get it. And I see a
Yeah.
lot of patients who've been going to doctors for years. No change,
Yeah.
no improvement in life. No, just here's your prescriptions. And I'll see you next time. But you get to advocate. So even if your insurance pays for it, or even if you go to a free clinic, at some point, if you ever worked, if you ever contributed to society, you have put money into these systems. You
Yes.
are a customer.
Yeah.
So you get to choose and you get to speak up. So y'all, again, Maven Nation, I'm highly functioning. I'm a
Yes.
doctor. When I had my last son, I had to go to the specialist. I was advanced maternal age, and I had to go to this doctor to do these ultrasounds. He was not my personal doctor.
Okay.
But the last time I went to him, and it ended up being a complicated pregnancy. So I went to him, and he's doing my ultrasound. Again, he's supposed to do my ultrasound. Talk to me about what the risks are for my baby to have this, and this, and all that stuff. I was like, whatever. And I said, okay, let me go for my last appointment. My husband couldn't go with me. And he said, well, since you have to have a C-section, meaning they have to do an operation to take the baby out, since you have to have a C-section, you might as well go ahead and have a hysterectomy.
What? But that's a common story we've started to hear, right? Oh.
Excuse me, sir? What? This has nothing, you will not be in the operating room. This has nothing to do with you. Who are you to say this to me? I'm like 30,000 weeks pregnant, huge, and you're talking to me about what you think I should do, and you don't really even have the right.
Right.
So talk to me about this. This is a conversation that I will have with my OB-GYN. You're supposed to collect the information and send it to her.
And send it back.
If you thought that, you write that to her, send it to her so she can have that conversation with me.
Right.
And it just was like a hysterectomy. Okay, that's it. I am already having a surgery, but that's a whole nother surgery at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wow.
And I think too, and it was the delivery.
Yeah.
Well, you're having a C-section, so you might as well just have a hysterectomy. Sis. I was like, this is
again
why.
where we have to be like, ooh. Wait a minute. Let me gather myself. And again, you are a doctor.
And he knows doctor.
And that person felt that was okay to say to you, imagine all the women that this doctor could see in a year that he casually throws out that type of information.
And I told my OB, I said, I will not go back and see him again. You have to find, he's world now. I don't care.
Yeah.
Find somebody else, because I'm not going back. And I suggest that you either have a conversation with him or not send your patients.
Yeah. And that's the important thing about advocacy. I want us to know that we can be empowered with the right information and ask questions when you're not clear. And if that medical person or professional can't answer, doesn't know, ask someone else. But we have to own the responsibility of our own medical health. And that's all of the verticals, your mental health, spiritual health, sexual health, all of these things. you own it. You own it, and you don't have to sit back and wait, because again, now you're putting that power in someone else's hand, and
Yes.
maybe they're not going to move and care for it how you would care for yourself, right? So, Dr. Richmond, again, the total health doctor. This is this is the summary of what it is, and again, we're going to share all of your links and things at the bottom of this video, so that women and men, but predominantly women, can get this information. And again, if they're in another state, they can, if it's Harris County here, what's your county? Find the information that you need for where you live, so that we can take preventive care in a more aggressive way, so that we're not on the back end of all these diagnoses that can be prevented. A lot of the things can be prevented.
I love you say that, because it's an old adage. It was nothing wrong with me until I went to the doctor. It was nothing wrong with them until they went to the doctor.
Yeah, listen, our community, we have some things that we must unlearn.
Unlearn. Yes.
It just has to be unlearned. And that comes by us taking our own power in our hands. Dr. Richmond, I always wrap up these with a rapid fire question. And then you tell me just which one you like best. So if I were to give you the option of meat, seafood, or veggies, which would you pick?
Seafood.
Okay. Peanut butter and jelly or grilled cheese?
Peanut butter and jelly.
All right. Zip lines or lounging by the pool?
Lounging by the pool.
Listen, that is our life. That's it. Reading a book or audio book?
Reading a book.
Okay. Nap or no nap?
Nap.
Listen, I keep saying the older we get, these naps are in order. They are in order. Digital planner or paper planner?
Paper.
Okay. Techie or old school?
Old school.
Old school. Biggie or Tupac?
Biggie.
Okay. Heels or flats?
Heels.
All right. And then the last one, ice cream or cookies?
Cookies.
I love it. I love it. Listen, y'all, this is your total health doctor. And again, if you have questions, concerns about something, reach out to her on social platforms, call her office. She and her team are a great resource to help you. Even if she's not your doctor, she and her team are a great resource to help you get maneuvered through the medical space to get what you need. So Maven Nation, I appreciate you tuning in again. And until next time, keep doing your BAM thing.